Hey, I'm Blake Giles.
I'm Jim Hardin.
It's Sidelines.
And Headlines.
And this is the post-New Year's edition, and we're looking now going into the semifinals of the college football playoffs. And for the second year in a row, Jim, that bye proved to be no friend of those teams who received it. We've now played 8 games in which 7 of the 8 teams lost who had a bye. Is that significant?
I think it's significant, but I think it goes back to what we've been talking about all year, just how the whole deal's changed with the transfer portal and the roster management, NIL, all that stuff. But it is a lot of people are surprised at the teams that are left standing. That's for sure, based on our conversations leading up to where we are now, for sure.
Yeah, it's if you look at the finals there in the semifinals. Let's see. Miami has won national championships.
2001 was their last one.
And Ole Miss has won 1 national championship.
1960.
Yeah, way back. I barely knew college football existed in 1960. And then Oregon and Indiana, neither one have ever won a national championship. And Oregon has been on the national stage, but they've never won the big thing. So it is a new world that we're living in. The semifinals, 2 blowouts, 2 highly competitive games. The first one was that Friday night game where Wednesday night game, New Year's Eve, Miami defeated Ohio State. And, of course, they got the whole stage of the nation looking at them. Were you surprised with Miami's win over Ohio State?
I was. I thought Ohio State, in the back of my mind, I gave up predicting too much, but I really thought Ohio State, when it all said and done, they might have had the best team, even though they lost to Indiana. But I have to give Miami a little credit. I wasn't high on Miami, but I think their defense is better than I thought it was. And
well, they had a great pass rush.
Gosh, they did.
Man, those guys, there were a couple of guys in there in particular that really impressed me with their pass rush. Just a great, great effort by them. To be able to minimize Ohio State and come away with that win. And, it was not a great game for our friend Carson Beck, but he was efficient enough and didn't make any major mistakes. And Miami was able to just hang on and get the win. And it went down to the end, though.
Were you looking forward to that potential matchup with Carson and
Georgia? Here's what I told somebody. I hope Miami wins, but I hope Carson Beck sprains his ankle, not seriously, on the last play of the game and is unable to play against Georgia. I was really not looking forward to that Carson Beck storyline that would have inevitably developed if things had played out differently for Georgia. So, I like the guy. I'm not upset with him. He transferred away. I don't have any beef to pick with him. And I thought that his post-game interview, I thought he handled himself well and spoke well of his team and his teammates and, gave the credit to the team he beat. So I really thought he did well. So,
well, that you're right. They would almost unjustifiably been dominated the storyline if Georgia had won. So, but I think Miami's got a chance.
Yeah, they got their defensive line really impressed me. And so now going up against Ole Miss, we'll see how that plays out. We'll get to the Ole Miss-Georgia game in a little bit. Then we started on New Year's Day. The first game of that day was the Texas Tech-Oregon game. This was Texas Tech's first time to dip its toe into the college football playoffs against this Oregon team, and they were never in the game.
I know, and I thought I didn't know a lot about Texas Tech, but I thought they might be the dark horse. Thought Ohio State was the favorite. I thought they might have been the sleeper to win it, but you can't in today's college football. You can't get shut out in that situation. They talked about in the Miami Texas A&M game how it was just 2 great defenses, and my thing was that the offenses just looked sorry.
Yeah,
and obviously. Texas Tech, you got to score a little bit to give yourself a chance to win. In today's football, they just really never had a prayer.
Well, they came into this game and they really had not been tested that much. They did have a loss, and that was when their starting quarterback was on the sidelines, but they had won comfortably in most of their games and had won in a dominating fashion. So it leads you then to question how tough was their schedule
Yep.
that they played against. Now, again, they dominated, but their quarterback, Morton, he just looked inept
He did.
in this game, and Oregon just dominated. I mean, it just was not much of a game at all, and it was kind of a snoozer for the quarterfinals of the college football playoffs.
Well, I think Oregon's got a chance. My old rematch factor, with Indiana. Indiana beat them early in the year. Is that a factor? I don't know. Indiana looked good.
Well, let's look at the rematches. You had Alabama and Oklahoma. That was flipped.
Yep.
The Georgia Ole Miss game flipped.
Yep.
So now we get to the Indiana Oregon game. Maybe that will be flipped as we're going forward. Then the afternoon game was Alabama against Indiana.
Wow.
And if you'd have said, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Alabama and Indiana are going to play in the Rose Bowl and the score will be 38-3, you think, well, Indiana did well to get there,
Yeah.
But it's just different.
The opposite. Yeah.
It just is a new world, and you have to give credit to Kurt Signetti, but like you said, it was made possible by NIL and transfer portal. I mean, they were able to bring in a whole boatload of new players, and he was a great talent evaluator apparently, because the players he's brought in, they just dominated Alabama. Alabama was never in that game.
I wore my South Florida shirt again today. You know what's going to happen? Auburn's coach is South Florida, Giles. He's going to bring all the guys from South Florida. That's what kind of what they're saying now.
All right.
And then 2 years from now, we're going to be in the Final Four like Indiana, like Signetti did with JMU.
Well, it could be. You just don't know.
But that guy, you got to give him some.
Oh yeah.
Kudos, man.
Well, he won at James Madison before NIL. Really. Now the transfer portal was in place at James Madison, but who comes to James Madison? Really?
Yeah, but the thing is, he brought those guys to Indiana, and all of a sudden it's kind of like the Ole Miss quarterback.
Yeah.
He's playing Division II, and all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's a superstar. Well, that gets us to the nightcap game, which was a great game. It's another great game that Georgia's played in the playoffs. You look back, of course, to the Rose Bowl when they beat Oklahoma in overtime in that game, and then, of course, losing the game after that to Alabama in the overtime. College football players was a great game. Then beating Alabama in Indianapolis, that was a great game. And then you come up here with this Ole Miss winning 39-35. Great game, but Georgia just didn't quite have what it took. What was your analysis?
Well, the rematch factor, I thought Georgia was going to win. I said if Kiffin was there and everything was still kind of, intact, I would have said Ole Miss would have had advantage in the rematch. But I wasn't totally shocked, but I was surprised sort of what happened. Ole Miss, in the first game, they didn't seem to be able to get it done on defense in critical situations. The other night, they did.
Oh, their defense was much improved from what it was in Athens earlier this year. They really gave Georgia trouble on the passing game in particular. Our receivers just did not seem able to get open, with the exception of Zachariah Branch, who my friend Brooks Thompson said he's like the Waffle House, 24/7, open all the time.
Yeah.
So, he was a big factor in the game. But I think the bottom line was Chambliss. The guy just played an unreal game. And that's what can happen when you have a great quarterback who plays a great game. It's hard to beat him.
It is. And, people, I for the life of me, I can't figure out what targeting and pass interference is in college football these days.
I know it.
I know Georgia was kind of griping about some plays, but Ole Miss got a couple of bad calls too. And Ole Miss, they gave Georgia a touchdown on the fumble. That was, if he didn't drop the ball, that's 7 points. I thought both teams probably felt like they were victims of some bad, you
look at of course, Georgia got Corey Thomas was ejected on a targeting call, which was close. The guy was going down. He didn't hit him with the helmet, but he did hit him in the head area. And it's not like he launched, but he was going into him. And I can understand why they called it, because, they're trying to protect people from those kind of head injuries. But what about the tackle on Gunnar Stockton right before the touchdown, which maybe Georgia rushed too quickly to get into the end zone after that play, and did not give the officials time enough to review that play, because that clearly looked like targeting to me, not necessarily with the helmet, but he launched into him and hit him high. And so whether that would have had an impact on the game, who knows?
Well, I agree, and that's what I mean. I know Ole Miss fans thought they had a couple of pass interference calls that if that would have been the opposite, the Georgia fans have been saying it wasn't a penalty. But that's football. Like Ole Miss, the blatant face mask they didn't call against Georgia when
And then Georgia, you saw Kirby Smart on their last touchdown by Ole Miss complaining, saying that they were holding on the play, and he was saying that he's pulling his shirt and all this, and it didn't get called. And that's going to happen in games. Officials are going to miss calls, and and that's just the nature of the game. Did you have any? I had one complaint with one of the calls by Georgia. It's not the fourth down punt try. I guess you heard Kirby said that was not supposed to be snapped.
Yeah, if Hugh Freeze would have said that, he would have been throwing this guy on the bus. But Kirby said it. And
Kirby said it was our fault.
Well, he did say it was the coach's fault.
He said
but obviously, whoever the kid is playing.
Well, again, you got to. So again, people blame Bobo for all the calls. Well, here we didn't have Bobo in the game because Drew Bobo's hurt,
right?
And this freshman center Malachi Tolliver, who's really played well, made a mistake, and you could tell watching it when Gunner caught that ball. He's like, what do I do now?
Yeah, and they were on him like
there was no play to call, and nobody was blocking, and of course it led to an Ole Miss score, and that was a big factor in the game. The third down goal at the end of the game for Georgia, the pass play. I thought they should have run the ball, or if they're going to call a pass play, if he's not open, take a sack. As close as you were to the goal line, a sack is not going to put you out of field goal range with a kicker like Georgia has. But because he threw an incomplete pass, it gave Ole Miss really an extra 30 seconds that they would not have ordinarily had. So instead of, after Georgia kicks the tying field goal, instead of it being 56 seconds to go, there'd have been maybe 30 seconds to go. And are they able still to get down the field in that time frame? Now, that doesn't mean Georgia wins the game. It could mean, though, that they get to overtime.
Well, I heard somebody say, Kirby in his comments after the game about that said we're, number one team in red zone offense in the country. Mm-hmm. And I forget who it was. I heard say, well, do what you said, run it down, kick a field goal, and then every possession in overtime is a red zone.
Exactly. Exactly.
You win it in. If you're the number one team in the country in the red zone, win it in overtime. So, but it's hard to second guess at that point when you're trying to. Trying to score a touchdown and take the lead.
Yeah. So bottom line, when you look back at this season for Georgia, would you consider it a bad season, a good season, a great season? How would you evaluate it?
Well, the standards changed a little bit, and I would put that back to you as a Georgia Bulldog. I think I've heard Jeff Dantzler say this over the last several years whenever I've heard him talk. This is the good old days of Georgia football. Mm-hmm. You won the SEC title 2 years in a row. Like, I'm an Auburn fan. I'm not, you shouldn't be complaining if you're a Georgia fan.
I agree. I think it's a very good season. Yeah. Now, you cannot, I think it's a mistake to evaluate a season solely by whether you win a national championship. If that's the case, only one team a year can have a great season. I mean, Ole Miss has already had a great season. It doesn't matter what happens from here on out. They've had a great season. Yeah, they lost their head coach, but they're kind of thumbing their nose at him by getting to where they are right now, and he's going to LSU to win a national championship. Now, here they are on the doorstep of getting to the championship game. So I think it's already been a great season for them. I'd say that Texas Tech, even though they laid an egg in that last game.
Oh, yeah. When have they? Who would have thought they would have been there?
Yeah, they look at this as a great season. Now, Ohio State, I don't know. They beat Michigan.
But who else did they beat? Yeah.
That's right. They lost to Indiana in the Big Ten championship.
Well, I think the standard has changed. I think, we joke about being old and these young fans, I think you win 2 national championships in a row and then people think, we're going to win another one here pretty soon. And they're really, especially the way things are today, like we were talking about earlier, you got 4 teams that really,
And the fact of how few Georgia fans went to New Orleans compared to Ole Miss fans. For them, this was, their first chance to be on the national stage like that in New Orleans. And Georgia, well, we were there last year, and we've been there before, and we'd rather save our money and go to Arizona or whatever. And so they didn't go. And I mean, listen, it's expensive to follow your team these days.
Absolutely.
If you got to play 3 or 4 playoff games, I mean, that's per person, that's $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 that you've got to pay to do that.
Well, I would, hats off to Georgia and as consistent as they've been. Again, these young fans, it wasn't that long ago in history when they lost 18 out of 20 against Florida.
That's right.
Had a long losing streak against Tennessee, and so you got to have perspective on it. What do you think? It's obvious we know it, but we don't really think about it or talk about it unless you and I are talking about it. But 1 to 100 as far as players on the team, Georgia's better than Ole Miss.
Oh yeah.
The transfer portal's taken away a little bit of Georgia's depth, but the difference is Ole Miss 1 through 30, they can put 30 that can play with you, and if nobody gets hurt and they get a bounce or two, they can beat you.
And like we said, that guy in that number 1 position, Trinidad Chambliss, he played out of his mind. I mean, he made some throws under tremendous pressure and threw it right on the dime to guys. I mean, it wasn't that Georgia was playing bad defense; they just didn't play supernatural defense.
Yeah.
And that's what it would have taken sometimes.
But what do you think? Again, if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm happy because I know we're probably going to win the high school recruiting thing. I mean, we're not going to feel like we have to go out and get 10 new guys in the portal to have a good team next year. Maybe compete for a championship kind of team. But where does, you throw all these other teams in there, and I mean, how do you feel as a Georgia fan in terms of where you go from here?
Well, if I look at it and I say, where do they need to improve on between this time and next year? And one thing we haven't mentioned is the injury to the running back, Frazier. That could have been a big factor in that game because after that he went out, the running game fell off. Now, Bowens himself has had some injury problems this year, but when he was healthy, he was a strong back. I think they need some more running back strength. Coach Dooley always said you can never have too many running backs because they get hurt. I mean, They get beat on all the time and banged up. And we've already had Robinson has announced he's in the portal, so he's leaving. We'll get the rest of them back. I don't think they've got but 1 running back coming in on the freshman class this year, so I'm thinking that maybe running back might be one of the positions they look at in the portal. Now, they brought in a guy last year from Illinois, and he was a good spot back and it was able to help him out a little bit. But you saw when Frazier went out, they put him in and tried to run him on a sweep, and that's not his game. He's a power back and not a speed back. So they'll try to find somebody, but there's not a lot of good running backs that necessarily are in the portal. We'll see. So the other area that I think besides running back they're going to need to find out, they're going to need to go into and find some wide receiver help because Colby Young and Thomas and Branch, all 3 who came to Georgia through the portal, are all going to be leaving. So that's going to leave some holes there. And we don't have, and then Dylan Bell is run out of eligibility. So they're going to have some gaps there. Now they've got some freshmen coming in, and they have some guys that haven't played much. And maybe one of them makes a jump in his game, but that looks to be a position they've got to add some depth and experience, and they've been able to do that in the last several years. They found some good wide receivers, so they'll be looking for that. Tech is losing a wide receiver that I understand Georgia's interested in and coming. Speaking of which, Tech's Bailey Stockton, the Prince Avenue boy, he's announced he's going into the portal to transfer away from Tech. And then, of course, we've already mentioned Aaron Philo, the Tech quarterback, is leaving. And the open secret is he's going to Florida to follow Buster Faulkner. Whether that plays out, we'll have to see over the time. But that's where I think Georgia has got to maybe make a jump in its game. Defensively, maybe a little bit across the front line. You know, Christian Miller's he's going to turn pro. They have to replace him. They did have another guy who transferred, who rarely played, who's going to go into the portal. And we've got Daniel Harris, defensive back. He's transferring, but again, he was rarely played. So I don't know. There's a lot that they need to necessarily add there, but they're busy scouting. They knew who's coming in, who's available. They know who they recruit beforehand, who's got connections with which coaches and all that kind of stuff. So that's something we'll just have to watch as it plays out over the next several weeks. What about your guy Cam Coleman? He's transferring from Auburn.
My son said if he goes to Georgia, Alabama, he said, I'm going to be in the fan transfer portal. But, you know, I know we kind of jump around, but I mentioned about the South Florida, you know, obviously the new coach, their quarterback's coming. All of Auburn's quarterbacks are in the portal. But, you know, and all the Auburn fans were just panicking over all the guys leaving, you know, and you thought that keeping DJ Durkin, the defense coordinator, that he was going to keep some of the guys, especially the defensive guys. Some of them were going in the portal. But you look at LSU, Lane Kiffin's supposed to be the savior, and they got 20-something guys in the portal. So is that just a function? And it seemed like over a couple of days, just reading stuff, the Auburn fans kind of came to their senses a little bit on Cam Coleman and some of the other guys. You know, we talk about how good we thought these guys were, and that we were 5-7 the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe we need a little bit of a clean out. Maybe we need to reallocate some of those NIL resources, because, you know, Cam Coleman probably wanted $3 million or something. And, you know.
And I don't think Georgia will pay him that much.
Well, they won't.
So whether he, you know, the NIL factor plays into it now these days. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. But as Irma Bombeck always said, the grass is always greener over the septic tank. So sometimes you're just going into a mess when you get over there. So there's a couple of factors that can draw people to transfer. Number one, they just want to play.
Yeah.
They want to play. And then number two, they want to win championships. They want to be on a team that's got a chance to win a championship. And number three nowadays is the money. They feel like there's a chance I can get more money somewhere else. And sometimes that blows up in their faces. We saw that with Nico Iamaleava last year when he left Tennessee and went to UCLA. Now I understand he's coming back to UCLA. I'm almost certain he's not making the kind of money that he was making when he was up at Tennessee, and which he could still be making. It worked out okay for Tennessee. They didn't make it to the playoffs, but they found a good quarterback in Joey Aguilar.
Well, tell me, I saw an interview, Calipari's, right, the guy at Arkansas, used to be
The basketball coach, yes.
You know, talking about NIL. You might have seen that.
I didn't.
Or the transfer portal, excuse me. He said his solution, he said, let's see, my solution I threw out there, give them one freebie, and then you know, maybe an exception when the coaches leave. Calipari, I think, said make them stay 2 years and then let them do whatever they want to. What do you think? What do you think would either one of those? I think would help it. There's like 4,000 kids in the transfer portal. Almost like 30% of the guys playing college football in the transfer portal.
Well, it's just rampant free agency, and basically it I think in a sense it devalues what they can get on the market, because there's so many players competing for the resources. You know, if you've got 50 quarterbacks in the portal, you don't have to pay $2 million to maybe get a good quarterback or a good linebacker or whatever. Somebody said that would have been the solution in baseball to control the salaries in baseball if you had only 1-year contracts and every year was free agent year. And so then you're saying, okay, I got to buy 15 pitchers, and I got to buy a whole infield and a whole outfield. So you have to apportion your finances out appropriately. Now, that'll never happen, of course. And I think that would be a disaster for the sport, because there's a certain beauty to pulling for the same player over a number of years. But we're seeing now repeatedly guys that they spend 1 year one place and they go another place, another place. I mean, JT Daniels was an example of that, who came through Southern Cal, Georgia, Rice. Where was the other school he went to? He was might have been West Virginia.
West Virginia?
Yeah, I think so. And then, I was looking at on the basketball. Auburn's got a guy on their basketball team. This is his fourth team in 4 years. So it's the way of the world these days. And the guy you're pulling against last year, you're pulling for this year, and vice versa.
But do you agree they should allow them one, or maybe you got to stay in the same place?
I wish there was some way to make it more of a contractual arrangement. But the thing that when you get into contracts, then you get into labor law and all those kind of things, and the colleges don't want to get into labor law. They don't want to get into unions, anything like that. And then you get into workers' compensation, and there's all kinds of other things that you can open Pandora's box here. So I'm not sure what the solution is. I don't believe that taking it to Congress is going to be the way that we solve this. I mean,
I agree.
I don't think the federal government really solves a whole lot of things necessarily.
That's right.
So I'm not sure. I would like to see some limits on it. I think I like your suggestion to get one free move, and after that, you got to sit out a year.
And even give them, if the head coach changes, give them a freebie on that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I can't. It's unbelievable to me. We went from 0 to 120 miles an hour.
But if you say the head coach, then they're going to come back and say, "What about my position coach?
Yeah,
he left."
That's right.
They're going to make all kind of claims, and of course it winds up going into court, and the NCAA winds up being on the short end of the stick just about every time, it seems like. And what are they going to do? And
Trinidad Chambliss is trying to get another year.
I heard that. Do you think he deserves another year?
I mean, my general thought on it is probably no.
Mm-hmm.
But
what about these guys who were drafted in the NBA, and now one of them's going to go to Baylor? He never played in the NBA, but he's going to Baylor even though he was drafted. How do you feel about that?
I don't even know if I can put my head around that one. But yeah, I mean, it's just.
Well, we opened this up years ago. You remember Quincy Carter came to Georgia after being a minor league baseball player, a professional athlete in a different sport. What's to say eventually some guy signs a baseball contract, plays a couple years in minors, said, I think I want to go to college and play for the University of Georgia on their baseball team.
Yeah.
And
it's the same.
And you're paying your baseball players. They're professionals. Why can't I play? It's a very confused world we live in now.
It really is.
All right, let's talk about the semifinals.
I know, that's what I was about to say. What do you think?
All right, so we got Indiana, Oregon, a rematch. You like Oregon in the rematch?
Well, I think just in general, I like the team in a rematch. I think Indiana might be on a mission. They're kind of a pretty complete team. This might be kind of a stretch, but you think about, okay, Georgia beat Alabama pretty good in the SEC title game, and Alabama comes back and beats Oklahoma. You think, well, that's a good victory for Georgia. Alabama, may be a good team, and they come out and get spanked by Indiana.
Right.
And my point is, I think Indiana. I mean, I'm not sure in any of the SEC schools. I don't think the winner of the other guy. I think they might win it all.
They may well be the class of the country this year.
Yeah, I mean, they just may be one of those teams that,
they came close twice this year to losing. Penn State, they had to rally to beat Penn State, and I can't remember the other game they had a close game with. But Ohio State in the Big Ten championship was not a runaway by any stretch. But they looked really impressive in beating Alabama. And at one time earlier this year, I thought Alabama was as good as anybody in the country. But they could not run the football. I was really disappointed with the effort they put forward against Indiana. I don't know that I would say they quit, but it looks like they kind of surrendered.
That's right. They knew they were beat.
Yeah. So if you had to pick Oregon, Indiana, who are you picking?
Well, again, I usually do the rematch factor, and I would normally pick Oregon. I think Indiana.
I do too. I think Indiana's going to win the game. I think they're going to get to the finals. All right, Ole Miss versus Miami. I like Ole Miss. Here's my question about Ole Miss, though. Have they resolved this assistant coaching dispute?
I heard some stuff about it today. I think it's a pretty much done deal that Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to be with them, and he's the main.
What about Joe Cox and those other guys? Have they gone and vacated?
I think there's at least one that's gone. I don't know if it's official on any others. You may know more than I do.
I don't.
But it's got to be a little bit disruptive, even if it's a lower level.
Well, the fact that Charlie Weiss is coming back, I think that's big. I think you absolutely have to have the same offensive coordinator you've had throughout the season to carry him on through to make the calls. And I mean, it's unfortunate that the whole thing's unfortunate with Lane Kiffin taking the LSU job. It would have been better for Ole Miss if LSU had never fired their coach and they'd still have Lane Kiffin.
That's right.
They'd be in a great situation.
Well, maybe as long as Florida hadn't fired theirs either. But.
Yeah. So is this? So looking at Ole Miss against Miami, here's what impressed me about Miami. They have a good running back in Fletcher, and they have good defensive line. And Carson Beck, we've seen him play. He can play at a very high level as a quarterback. So I think it's really a toss-up game as to who's going to win that game.
I agree. I know this. If Ole Miss somehow pulls this off, that's going to be one of the greatest sports stories in the last 50 years.
Oh, well, we already got with Indiana. I mean, of course, this is a 2-year deal for them. Yeah. It's a great sports story. But I'm kind of hoping Ole Miss does do it, just as a kind of a spite to Lane Kiffin. Now, why should I feel the way? I don't know Lane. I don't know anything about him personally, just what I read. But if I had to pick, I think I might pick Miami.
I think I might too. But my heart, I'm going to be cheering for Ole Miss.
Yeah, so then that would set up Indiana and Miami if our picks go forward into the finals. So we'll see how.
That's interesting what we just said. I hadn't really thought about it. If it's Indiana and Ole Miss, I mean, that's two crazy stories the way they got there, playing each other.
Yeah. Ole Miss, until a few years ago, was it their women's golf team that broke through and won a national championship? That was the first one. And then, of course, their baseball team came and won a national championship. So, I mean, the football championships are set apart because they're not official NCAA championships. People don't understand this is a college football playoff, but it's not awarded by the NCAA.
Yeah.
And then the trophies are different. They look different and everything. So Indiana, of course, has had great success in basketball over the years and swimming. They used to be a power in swimming. I don't know if they're still a power in swimming or not. And then, of course, Miami, where have they been strong in other sports?
They've been good in
baseball, although I'm not sure. I don't know if they've ever won the national championship. I'm just not sure.
I think they did win it. Didn't they beat LSU? Wasn't there a weird deal back in this?
They could have. They could have. But, they've been strong in baseball, obviously. And then, of course, they haven't won the football championships back in the early 2000s and late 90s. So it's a great story, too, for the revival of Miami. And here's Mario Cristobal coming back to his alma mater and doing exactly what he hoped to do. So,
let me tell you my little pet peeve in all this, people talking about football, people making the comment that defense wins championships. I mean, defense can be the difference, but defense doesn't win championships like it used to. I mean, I always think back to that 92 Alabama team with Gene Stallings. They won every game like 17-7.
Yeah.
And that's just, that was a totally different game. And
what has changed to make that so? Because I agree with you.
Well, I heard Coach Dooley say several years ago, somebody asked him the question, what's the biggest change since you've been coaching or why you've been coaching, over the last however many years? And he said just the sophistication, in the offensive football.
Yeah.
I mean, the rules favor it,
Right.
And I just, in the SEC, Spurrier coming, he wasn't the first guy to ever throwing the ball in the SEC.
Right.
The SEC had gone through a long time
Sure.
where it was perceived as a run. You had to be a run. And I think that changed it. But just teams all over the country, they figured out, all the no-huddle stuff they do and just the passing game, the situational.
It even starts in high school. They got all these 7-on-7 camps that people go to, and you pass the ball so much during that. So you got wide receiver camps that are all over the place, a quarterback gurus that are coaching young guys, and so they get a lot of instruction on passing and catching and those kind of things, and it just carries on up the chart all the way into the college level. You remember years ago, end of a half or something, when you're 1st and 10 on your 25-yard line, you're going to take a knee.
That's right.
And now you're trying to get out of the field. People don't waste any downs anymore.
No, yeah, the number of plays, that's a big deal when you and given what I just said, I'll take a step back. That being true, I think you got to give the two Georgia teams that won it, before the transfer portal and NIL, but that second year, what was it, 22, I guess?
Yeah.
They had for this day and time, that was an unbelievable way they held people.
Oh, yeah.
Without scoring a lot of
Well,
points.
they had great defenses. I think the defense in 21 was probably better than the defense in 22. What we had in 22 was a more balanced offense. Stetson Bennett was even more mature as a quarterback, and they beat teams as much with their offense as they did with their defense. But, as you say, the rules are different. The emphasis is different. And
well, it's just one game. I mean, in those 2 years, they didn't run up against an Ole Miss type offense. They did against Bama in the championship, the first game, and Bama scored 40 points on them.
Yeah.
But it only takes you face an offensive team that knows what they're doing, and you can't match them score for score. Kirby can be the greatest defensive coach in the world, but he's helpless in that situation. If you got a guy like Trinidad Chambliss is picking you apart out there. But,
well, who's the next Trinidad Chambliss? And there's a guy out there somewhere playing Division II football that only the most avid fans have heard of.
That's right.
And our coaches have heard of, and he's going to come in next year, and he's going to, even Fernando Mendoza. People knew about him. He was at California, wasn't he, before he went to NN? Georgia tried to recruit him. He came for a visit. How would history have been different if he'd come to Georgia? I don't believe he'd won the Heisman Trophy. No. I'm not even sure he would have been the starting quarterback. So he made the right call in going to Indiana.
Yeah. Well, I always look back to Joe Burrow at LSU. He was at Ohio State. That was before the transfer portal. He transferred, set out, but if he hadn't, that's kind of the case for the kids being able to transfer. If he hadn't left Ohio State, we would have never heard of Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
LSU wouldn't have won the national championship.
How many guys did Alabama have back in the years when they were stockpiling talent who might have been great quarterbacks somewhere else if they could have transferred? Look, Cam Newton. Would Cam Newton have ever started at Florida?
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not. I don't know. But he winds up and goes and wins the Heisman Trophy at Auburn and wins a national championship.
Yeah.
So, I like that players have that flexibility. I just wish that there was either more loyalty or there were some restrictions on the flexibility, because it's just a madhouse every year, and it's crazy.
Well, before we move on from college football and what do you think? And I had talked to one of my best friends who's a big time Georgia fan, and I tell him he's one of the only rational Georgia fans I know. I'm learning you're pretty rational, Blake. But he said he was disappointed in Gunnar Stockton. What did you think about his performance?
Well, in the quarterfinals, I thought he played. It was not his best game. I thought he played okay. I did not think that he played exceptionally well. And Gunnar may have hit his ceiling. I don't know. I don't know if he can get much better or not.
Was that him not playing well? Was that Ole Miss being a little better? My friend said, I don't know why we don't throw the ball down the middle of the field more.
Yeah.
I like the kid. Heck, I wish he.
I think he's a great leader, and his teammates love him, and he's tough as nails. I mean, we talked about that hit he took, and the very next play, he's running the quarterback sneak into the end zone for the touchdowns.
Yeah, he is.
I kept thinking, how come so many passes are getting knocked down?
Yeah, that's a good point too.
He was 6'1", but Trinidad Chambliss is 6'1", so Stetson Bennett was 5'11".
Well, I think a little bit of the difference on that is Trinidad Chambliss was more out to move out of the pocket,
right?
But I think that's a good point. You could tell on some of those replays that Ole Miss's defensive line, whenever he would throw the ball, everybody would have their hands up. Mm-hmm. And a couple of them got back.
Maybe that's why they don't throw over the middle more, because
good point too.
Because of his height. And again, when we're watching on television, you're limited to what you can see. Right. They zoom in. That's the one thing I don't like about not being at the game. You have no idea what's going on downfield with the receivers unless they show a replay and pan back and catch up onto it. Were our receivers open or not, and he just didn't get the ball to them, or were they covered? And I haven't seen a over the top look yet to make an analysis on that, the sky view, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Gunner played an average game. We didn't lose because of Gunner, but obviously we didn't win, and maybe he could have done a better job on that. I really think the injury to Frazier could have been a big factor, because he didn't come back in, and he was the guy. He really became a good running back this year.
He really did, and he was very conscious about holding on to the football after that big fumble against Alabama.
Yeah, he, last year it looked like everything he did was he made all his moves in the backfield, and by the time he got to the line of scrimmage, the hole was gone. And this year it looked like he was getting to the hole quicker, and then he was making his moves and finding some places, some holes and everything. But
I wouldn't want to have to tackle that guy.
Oh, gosh.
He's a bowling ball when he gets going a little bit.
I know, and we would look silly, you and I, trying to tackle those guys.
But I think some of those guys playing against him don't really like tackling him either, which, he's a good player. Right. He holds on the ball. He's a good player.
All right, let me ask you one other question here. Is this a one-year blip for Ole Miss? Is it a two-year blip for Indiana? Are those programs here to stay, or are we just going to, every year, there's going to be some recycling of who's going to be in the playoffs?
I think I would say there's going to be a little bit of a recycling.
Yeah.
You heard, and that's part of the reason I didn't know what I was talking about Texas Tech spending all the money on. They'll be trying to fill some gaps. And this is wrong for me to say, but when I look at Pete Golding, I'm all for him. I want him to win the national championship, but I don't see him in
being the architect of
being the guy that's where they're doing what they've done the last couple at Ole Miss. I just don't.
There's a lot of emotion that's going on at Ole Miss right now with what's happened. Yeah.
Now Cignetti, I don't know. I don't really understand the dynamics of just the traditional recruiting at Indiana. Can they start getting guys from Ohio and Pennsylvania and wherever, and they didn't used to get, and then utilize the portal? He seems very confident in his ability.
He does. Just Google me, I'll win.
That's right. But to answer your question, I'd lean more towards we're going to be sitting here a year from now saying, well, would you have ever thought that this team, whoever, is going to be in,
All right, let me ask you about the format of the playoffs itself. We've talked about how the first round bye teams, 7 out of 8 times have lost. People are saying we need to go to 16 teams or whatever. I don't want to go to 16 teams. I want to keep it at 12, but I would like to change the calendar. I would like to, let's just start the week after the conference championship games. Let's play that first round. Let's go to the next round. Let's go to the next round. We can finish this thing up by New Year. We'd be done with the season by now.
I agree with that. The argument against that is all the, school schedule, and
what do they do with the NCAA basketball tournament?
You're right. And then,
NCAA baseball. I mean, all of those they're dealing with college finals and everything. They can figure that out.
And I agree with that. And then how do the bowls fit into that? I think you got to have 1 through 12. I mean, we did it with a poll for 100 years, where they voted the best, who's number, back in the day, it was just who was number one. But don't you agree? Let's get the best 12.
I still think that winning a conference championship should count for something.
How do you compensate for that in the current kind of the way?
I think conference champions should get in. That's just my feeling. I think Duke should have been in. They won their conference. They played by the rules. Yeah, they lost 5 games, but they won their conference. I mean, look at the NFL. We got Carolina Panthers in there. What are they, 8 and 9?
Yeah.
I mean, they won their conference, so they're in there. Now, are they the best team or the ones that, how many teams, 12, 16, how many teams make the playoffs? I don't.
All conferences and all conference championships aren't created equal.
No, they're not. Speaking of that, so as you said, all conference championships are not created equal. Hey, Texas Tech, perfect example of that. They won the Big 12 and laid an egg. And then if Duke had got in there, that would not have been a good game. And then, of course, James Madison, Tulane, they demonstrated they're not in that category. So, I mean, the object, I think, of a playoff is to get a national championship that's a worthy national championship. So here we are, the Final Four: Indiana, Oregon, Miami, Ole Miss. Are those the best 4 teams in the country? I think Indiana's the best team. Beyond that, I don't know who's the second, third, fourth best team. But I'd say there may be somebody else you could argue that's better than one of those 4 teams in the finals. But of the 12 teams we had, 2 of them just didn't belong.
That's right. That's my argument. You have the 4. Well, everything. It's not fair. It's never been fair. It's never been equal.
Yeah.
I mean the power, non-power, group of 5, whatever conference, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with what you said. If you try to put what we got now into the old box,
it just doesn't. They don't fit together.
Yeah.
The bowl system and this playoff system, they just don't mesh together. And I think we've decided we want a playoff. Well, maybe the bowls just have to go. I don't know.
Something dry. The conference championships have to go. Do we? And you, I guess you're in favor.
I like conference championships.
I love the SEC championship. Was my favorite thing.
It got better, higher rankings in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. But do you somehow have to, like you said, take that away? And you didn't suggest taking that away.
No.
And going straight at, but is that part of it? Where you take the.
Well, I think every game should count, and I think the conference championship should count. And using that reason, maybe Alabama shouldn't have been in the playoffs to begin with, because they played so badly against Georgia that if I were evaluating the top 12 teams, I don't believe Alabama would have been in my evaluation among the top 12 teams. Now, I think Notre Dame deserved to be in. Beyond that, maybe Brigham Young, BYU deserved to be in. I'm not sure who else beyond that.
Well, devil's advocate, Ole Miss didn't make it to the conference championship game, and they beat Georgia, and they're still in the tournament.
But Ole Miss and Georgia shared this. They beat every team they played this year.
Yep. Georgia
beat Alabama. Who beat them? Ole Miss beat Georgia. Who beat them? So they beat every team they played.
Do you think, I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit, everybody, kind of bought into the narrative that Georgia was just the kind of team that was going to win close games. They beat Tennessee. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Florida. They beat Auburn, in close games. Florida and Auburn weren't very good. The Ole Miss game was a big game. Tennessee had an okay team. Mm-hmm. Georgia could have easily lost. Tennessee makes
a field goal.
Do you think, and we said this a few weeks ago, was Georgia, I don't want to say lucky, but were they kind of the team, like we said, maybe that was living on borrowed time? Maybe they got a bounce or two in a couple of games. If they hadn't got the bounce, our perception of them have been totally different. Maybe this loss to Ole Miss maybe kind of shows that, or we're.
Well, I think what you're talking about with as the playing field is just more level these days.
Well, that's
It
right.
just is.
Well, that's kind of my.
Yeah,
kind of
I
my
mean,
point.
and so far, from what we've seen, Indiana right now looks like they've risen above the playing field. But after they play Oregon, we may have a whole different opinion of Indiana.
That's right.
It's a gauntlet that those teams have to run through, and you have to get all the way to the end, and it's in a sense a lot like the NFL in that the margins at that level are so small, small.
They are.
I mean, Georgia could have beaten Ole Miss. I mean, it was not inconceivable that they could have won that game, even as it played out. That's how close the game was. Now, I don't think Alabama could have beat Indiana, for example. I think that game demonstrated clear superiority, and I don't think Texas Tech could have beat Oregon.
Yep.
So, but it's just they're just so evenly matched these days. Now we may get to the finals and it's another Georgia TCU game. Who knows? In any one game, you just never know how it's going to play out.
All right, I got a strange one for you. You ready?
All right.
I know you went to the Georgia women's basketball game. They won in overtime.
They won in overtime today. Texas A&M did not score a field goal in the fourth quarter or in overtime.
Wow. Wait a minute, say that again?
Texas A&M failed to score a field goal in the fourth quarter and in overtime.
Has that ever happened before?
I imagine it has, but I mean the only points they got were free throws.
That's crazy.
Well, I thought it was the Georgia defense picked up immensely at the end of the game.
Well, I probably shouldn't even say this. We'll probably get all kind of emails, sidelines, and headlines.
Sidelines, headlines at gmail.com.
Yeah, email us. Jackie and I go for a walk down. We go park at Clark Central, walking down Millage Avenue, just to sun's out, just get out and get a little exercise. Coming on the same side of the street, on the same sidewalk, these guys, they get a little closer, and it's Mike Bobo, Stacy Searles, and some other guy that I didn't recognize. So, if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm concerned. Shouldn't they be over there working the transfer portal? Were they going for a walk on Sunday afternoon? What was that?
You got to give these guys some time to get out and about.
I know, but if I'm those guys, I'm not walking down Millage. I'm going somewhere else. I'm going fishing or something.
I don't know.
You didn't happen to see them at the game. That's what made me think about it.
I did not see them at the game. I saw Josh Brooks at the game, the athletic director, but I did not see them. So, and of course, basketball, Georgia beat your Auburn team.
I know.
105 to 100, overtime the day before. And Auburn almost pulled off a miracle.
That was unbelievable, the end of regulation.
How do you lose a 4-point lead with 5 seconds to go?
That may have
And
never
Georgia
happened.
did.
Yeah, they did it. Well, yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up. Yeah, Stacy Searles, he's an Auburn guy. I was going to give him a War Eagle. They didn't look like they didn't really smile or say hello when they walked by. I was like going to stop and chat with them.
Well, they're probably in a bad mood right now.
Yeah, that's right. They look like
When did the portal open? Did it open up Friday?
I think so.
Yeah. So, I'm sure they've done their due diligence. Those guys, look, from everything I've heard about those guys, they work the hours.
Oh, yeah.
Man, long hours, extended hours.
I'm not questioning the work. I just thought that was odd to see them walking down Millage. You're used to seeing, little college girls with their headphones walking. You're not used to seeing those
That's
guys.
why you want to walk on that area?
Well, yeah. Jackie's not watching.
All right. Hey, today, of course, was the end of the NFL season. And it was an indication of the Falcons. They're not necessarily that far off. They lost a lot of close games this year. Now, the Panthers blew them out 30-0 earlier this year, too. But, the division winners got 8 wins and 9 losses. It's a weak division. They could have won their division.
Do you think, we talked about it a little bit, we haven't talked about it a lot, but, we talked about the fact that, there's 60 years of history that says the Falcons organization just has not been successful. I mean, do do they make a coaching change? I don't think at this point they do.
I'm wondering. I mean, people are concerned that Raheem Morris is going to be back. I don't know if he's the right guy or not. I don't know enough about evaluating his job as a coach. What are they going to do at quarterback? I mean, they played well when Cousins was in there, and Penix was up and down, and I thought he was an injury risk when they drafted him.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they drafted the guy. His last 3 seasons, whatever, in a row have been ended by injury, and sure enough, he gets hurt. And that's the most Falcons thing you can, in the whole deal with Cousins' contract. But they got some great players. I mean, Bijan Robinson. I mean,
he's a stud. And Drake London, the receiver, and I think they got
some good defense.
Yeah, they do.
But I don't. My main beef with Raheem Morris, I just wish he would watch the game. Every time they show the guy on TV, he's looking up at the video on the. Have you noticed that?
I hadn't noticed that.
He's always looking up like that. I mean, maybe you need to watch the watch the film, not watch the video board.
Oh man! Well, of course they helped out the Panthers with the win today because it got the Panthers into the playoffs as opposed to the Buccaneers because of a tiebreaker issue or something. I'm not sure how all that worked out.
Well, maybe we can talk about the NFL a little more next week. But I told my son I'm going to adopt as my team the Broncos. You know, you got Bo Nix. I might have said Patrick Nix, his father. Bo Nix is a quarterback. And
he's done well.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another guy transferred to Oregon. Really worked out for him. I mean, he did so much better at Oregon than he ever did at Auburn.
Yeah.
And now he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there are people, some of the SEC teams laughing at him, they're, Auburn leaving, he didn't get it done, and now he might be one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So, last question on the NFL today. In MVP, there's a lot of discussion. Who should it be? Drake May or Matthew Stafford? Those are the two guys whose names I've heard. Stafford is kind of the old guy sentimental choice. I mean, he's had a great season. May has been a guy who's just come out of nowhere and just resurrected the Patriots and had an unbelievable season. I don't know. I would like to see Stafford win it.
That's what I was about to say. I've heard a couple of Georgia fans say, kind of like I said, I'm adopting the Broncos. They're adopting. We hope the Rams win it because of Stafford and of course Stetson Bennett's his backup. Or I guess he's
third
team
because they have Garoppolo as a backup.
But anyway, I don't have a problem with Stafford. I think they, of course, their coach is a Atlanta guy.
There was a Sports Illustrated did a great profile on Stafford that's online, and read about it, and they said that he's one of the few quarterbacks that plays without that wristband with all the plays on it. He's just got everything in his head, and it was really a great profile that took him through his career, and how he got so far with the Lions, and I mean he gave his heart and soul to the Lions, but he finally went to him and said, I want to win a championship. Can you trade me? And, of course, they wound up trading him. And it worked out for both teams. I mean, Jared Goff has done great with Detroit. And Stafford won the Super Bowl the very next year with the Rams. And now he's got a chance to do it again. They're in the playoffs, and we'll see. I don't think they're going to be the number one seed or anything. Probably the Seahawks will get that over them. I don't know what happened today with either one of those teams.
I didn't either. I watched, actually, call me crazy, but I watched most of the Falcons game. But anyway, maybe we can talk more about the NFL next week.
All right. Well, it's been an interesting college football season, as it always is. It just is. And I hope folks have enjoyed interacting with you and I. We'll probably have a couple of more of these as we get and do the post-analysis of the semifinals, and then a post of the finals, and then maybe we may come back with spring football. We'll see. But just kind of check your inbox and whatever, and remember to like us and subscribe to us. We're available on Spotify or wherever your podcasts are available. We post on YouTube the visual format. We have an email address, sidelinesheadlines@gmail.com. Send us any feedback that you'd like to, and we'll be glad to receive it. And it's been fun. We're already talking. We're going to do this next year, and we're talking about some some things we want to do, some changes we want to make, and how we can make this even better for our listeners and make it a better experience.
Well, we're going to have a fun couple more weeks, too.
Oh,
We might be here talking about some crazy stuff next
That's
week.
right. You never can tell.
You never know.
All right, good deal.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, we'll see you in a week or so here on Sidelines and Headlines.